Good evening. Hi everyone. Painting with Megan here. I'm gonna give some people some time to find me and sign in. Well, sign on to Facebook anyways. Okay. Oh, it is live. Okay. Hi. Welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Painting with Megan here with you live. So excited to be here tonight. Tonight we're going to be doing an abstract painting. This one right here behind me. That's what I am teaching this evening. And I will be using painting knives or palette knives to do this painting for the majority of it. So yes, happy Thursday. Woo, one more day. This will be our little boost, you know, to get us through the little bit left of the week. I'm good. Hope everybody is well. So I'm just gonna show you guys what I have here lying around for the materials, and then I'll get started. Hey, hi David. Welcome everyone. If you're new, thanks for tuning in tonight. So I have two types of painting knives here tonight. So this one is metal, or at least, you know, they call it metal, and then this one is plastic. So any type of kind of like painting knife you have lying around, if you do, anything is fine. It'll just be us learning tonight on how to use them and techniques for that. If you don't have one, you're actually okay to use an old like business card or like a piece of like harder cardboard, and you can even use that to do this tonight too. So I can actually show you both tonight, just in case you don't have the painting knife. So I'll just grab one of those cards. Okay, yeah, so I just have a business card here that I can use as well. So I also have a sponge. We don't need it for too much, and you don't overly need the sponge. I actually used it for the trees. So even if you just use a paintbrush, that's totally fine as well, and any sponge will do. So we can make do with what we have. I know it's a little tricky right now, at least here in Ontario, which is where I am, and it's most of the things you cannot buy right now, so, and ordering online is a little bit slow. So I also have a Filbert brush, like I had said in the description, or a flat brush, so both are fine, or one of them is fine. Just a variety is great. I have water, of course, and I have my paper plate for my palette tonight from Russell. Hi, welcome. Yeah, say where you're from. It's always so interesting to see where people are viewing me from, because it's been like all over the world, and it's so cool. So welcome. Thank you for watching. Okay, so as for the paints tonight, I am using acrylic paints, and I like to use the Liquitex Basics brand. Here, you can buy that on Amazon or Michael's. I also enjoy using Amsterdam. Same thing, you can buy this online. You can't buy this brand at Michael's though. I like to use both, but they're literally both the same type of consistency for the most part. Amsterdams are just like a little bit thicker than Liquitex Basics, so I like to kind of have both because I find that's just my preference for my painting. But either way, if you're a beginner and you just have whatever paint lying around, it's all good, and you can just use anything. And this video is here for you if you are only able to kind of pop in, or if you're watching later on and you realize you maybe don't have all the supplies, you could always go back to this video later on, which is awesome. So I have blue and green, black, brown, gold, and white. And I actually put red in the description. There's like a tiny bit of red in here. I know it probably seemed weird, but it's like kind of right in there. It's mixed a little bit with the brown. It's not really like that noticeable, so you don't overly need it. But yeah, so if everybody's here and tuned in, I will go ahead and get started. So I have tonight, this painting here, it's like, or this canvas here, I should say, is a little bit wider than the original just because I couldn't find the exact same canvas at this time. But it's still the same height, which is awesome. So it's 10 by 20, this one. But any size canvas you have is totally great, or paper, anything is cool. So I'm just gonna put that over to the side here. So I'm going to put all of my colors on my palette. So I'm gonna get out some white. So I have white, and black. Just kind of putting out a little bit there to start. So I'm going to use green and blue. I also had put in the description you can use teal, so if you just have teal, that's cool too. But you can make teal with blue and green. It's kind of like this color here. Something along those lines. Okay, so I got blue, and I'm getting brown. Gold, love gold. And then like the tiniest bit of red, I'll just put it kind of beside the brown. I'll show you this here in a moment. Okay. All right, so this is what I have here. So I just have a little bit of red and beside the brown, and these ones can just be anywhere. Yep. And let me know if you can see and hear me okay too. So as we go along, I will be teaching you this step by step, and then of course, if you have questions, just put it here in the conversation, in the chat, and I will do my best to get back to you right away there as I teach. And if you're a beginner, this is also great to learn as well, so don't worry. Oh, okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get started tonight. So if you do have any kind of larger brush, something along this line, like it could either be flat or it could be kind of rounded here, that's a Filbert, then you're welcome to use that as well. So any kind of larger brush to start. So the colors, yeah, no problem. So I have white, green, blue, black, brown, little bit of red, and gold. You can hear and see me. Perfect. Yeah, I'm in here talking to the screen, so it's always nice to know. Just in case. You never know with technology these days. So many people are doing like virtual events now, so. Okay, so let's use that large brush and dip it into water. And I'm just tapping the cup. So I'm going to start with white, and I'm just going to kind of prime my canvas. So I am going to put it on quite thickly because we're going to be using the palette knife throughout this too. It's nice to have that kind of like textured look to match what this part will be here. So you'll see what I mean as we go. So let's do that. We're going to go up and down with the white. And I'm just kind of putting it on there. You can use a little water as well to spread it around a bit. And make sure you go up and down. And we're going to go to about just below the kind of halfway point to start. Actually, kind of mostly to the bottom. We'll do with the white. So I'm just going up and down. I'm going to about here. I know you won't be able to see it, so I'm just marking that out with just white, and kind of put it on a little bit thicker too, and that'll help keep it wet longer, and that'll make the sky that we're going to be doing here look really nice and blended. So we're going to be doing that part. Hope everyone had a great day today. This day like flew right by, which was awesome. I was like so excited to come on live. It's been a while and been working a lot lately, so I haven't had as much time to paint, so I was really looking forward to this. I always love coming on here. There we go. So I'm just using a little water with my paint too as well, time to time, like I had mentioned, just to help it spread around a bit. Okay, so you can't see it, but I just put it on a little bit thick, and maybe it's a little shiny in your camera. I pretty much used up all of my white. Okay. So now what we're going to do, we're not going to clean the brush off, and we're just going to mix some blue and some green up to make a teal color. So I'm just scooping some green and some blue kind of here into the middle between the two colors, or anywhere that works for you on your palette. And I'm just stirring that together to see what I get. So I did do half and half, but I noticed it's still kind of more green than blue, and I want it to be a little more blue. So I'm just adding more blue to that, and you can play around with the color that you like. If there's something that you really like, then stick with that. Yeah, so I did mostly blue over green, and as you can see, I made a greenish blue tone. And to make it more of a teal color, because of the white that's already on our canvas, it'll mix and make it a little bit lighter as well. Sorry, can you wait for a minute? I'm doing it together. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thank you for letting me know. I try to imagine like I'm there with you guys. There, so that's the color there. I'll kind of move the angle a bit. Okay, and just give me some thumbs up or hearts letting me know that you guys are good, and that you're ready. And I'll try to go with the pace with the majority of everyone. And then just make sure like both sides of your brush is evenly coated as well. Awesome, I see the thumbs up. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna be basically going down to about the same length as where we've put the white. So about here again. So now you're gonna go from the top and just start to add that in. So you're gonna go up and down. Just have fun with this, because you'll see it's catching some of the white. And it's like, I just love that because it changes the tone. It's really pretty. And if it's like your white is dry, because acrylics dry so fast, just add some white in there. So I can tell mine's already drying, so I'm actually just adding a little white to my teal, so that way it brightens it up. So what I did is for this color here, I had mostly blue and a little bit of green, and then I added white to it because my white on here was drying. My plan was, if this was still wet enough, it would catch it. But because acrylics like to dry quickly, it's drying. So I just added a little white to this. Now I'm just going up and down to about here. It doesn't overly matter what it looks at the bottom, because there will be like kind of like a cliff side here. So it's just rough down there. As long as up here is more even than down here, that's okay. And then I am going to use some water. Water really does help move it around. So I'm just putting some water on my brush, just going up and down. And the goal is to kind of get some different tones in here. So kind of lights, darks. I love this color. It's so pretty. The more white you add, the lighter it'll be. If you like the darker look, doesn't always have to be exact as mine. Like if there's something you are liking, then I always encourage following that. I'm here as a guide for you, and you'll see that even mine, like me teaching my same art, won't come out the exact same, because that's what makes it an original, which is super cool, right? So I'm just going up and down. Like I said, if it's drying on you, put some water on there, kind of tap it out a bit, and then dab your paint, because otherwise you'll get water lines if you just go like right from the water to the canvas. Always do the paint first. You can do your sides of your canvas too if you do have sides on yours, if you're done. We will be adding some gold in here next. So I just dipped in water again. That really helps move the paint, and you'll notice that when you do yours as well. Yeah. So up here is a lot more filled in at the top, but down here I didn't worry about it too much because I know that this cliffside here will be covering that. So there's no point of, you know, really making it look perfect and blended evenly. So while we have this color still, let's just go down to the bottom with it, and we'll go back and forth. That's just going to be right underneath kind of the foam. There's just a little bit of water down below. So that's what this part is. So that is about 3 or 4 fingers in length. So I'll say about here. And don't worry about this gap, because that's where the foams and all the other stuff will be. So put your blue and, sorry, go back and forth. So as you've seen, I went back and forth. So go from one side to the other. Just with that greenish blue with the white in there. And sometimes I kind of scrub a bit, like if you see like these kind of white spots showing through, sometimes I scrub. How do you make gold? You actually can't make gold, like not that I know how to make anyways. Gold is like one of those metallic colors. I'm sure there's a way to make gold, but I'm sorry, I'm not too sure how to make it, because there's probably like some like ingredient you need to add. Like maybe if you had yellow and if you had gold leaf lying around, you could use that. But if you don't have gold for this painting tonight, then you can use yellow with a little bit of brown in there, and that'll kind of create kind of like a darker tone. I call that a little bit like yellow ochre. So you could use that, or you can also use like reddish brown, and that would change the color here. Or you could use gray, or you can use yellow with a little bit of brown. Yeah, yellow and brown I think would look better. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so I went back and forth there. Yes. Do your sides. I always forget. Okay. So I'm just going to clean off my big brush there, and I'm still going to be using this brush next too. Oh, no problem. Yeah, see how it looks? See, like when you mix yellow and brown, you have a yellow ochre color. I have the color here. So it should look something like this tone. So gold is just, you know, shiny. That's what the gold is. Maybe if you even had silver, if you wanted that shine, maybe you could add just like a tad of that, and it could make it shinier if you wanted that. Or like I said, gold leaf. I would show you what I'm talking about, but I don't have any at this moment. But yeah, yellow and brown. So I could show you too. I would use kind of like if you have like a cadmium yellow, something a little bit on the darker tone, or bright yellow is fine too. So if you don't have gold, this is a little side note, so you know how to do it. So I'm just putting some yellow there, and I already had brown. What's the names of the blue you are using? The name of the blue I'm using is primary blue, and I mixed it with green and white, titanium white, and the green tone I have is called olive green. It's an Amsterdam brand. We all might have slightly different colors depending on what green. Like I can tell that I probably use like something different in this one than that one, but that's okay. I'm pretty sure the gold makes it a little bit lighter too once I put that in there. Okay, so if you were making, kind of going for like a yellow ochre color, if you didn't have gold, You would do brown and a little bit of yellow, kind of play around with that. I would say actually more yellow than brown. Just play around with that, see how, it's kind of like a mustard color right now. So if I kind of do it evenly, it's kind of like a nicer tone. It looks more of a yellow ochre color there. And if you wanted it to be a little lighter, then you could just add some white to that. That's an alternative to gold. So I'm just adding a tad of white just to show you what it looks like if you add white. So yeah, that's looking pretty similar to gold. It's just not as shiny. So even if I add a little more yellow. Hi Denise, yes it will be on replay. Okay, so I'm just gonna clean my brush off again. I hope that helped. Just gonna get my music again. My laptop decided to stop working. The cord kind of got messed up, so. Luckily I have my phone. Okay. Oh, no problem. All right, so got a little side lesson there. So I'm just cleaning off that large brush and I'm gonna get out my gold. Or like I said, you can make that color I was just showing you. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out my palette knife now. So I'm going to use this long one. You can also use something like this. Maybe something that's a little bit longer, and if not, then that's okay too. So I'm going to use this one to start. I'm just going to dip in my gold. Just like that. So I'm just kind of dabbing it all around to cover it evenly. If you're using a business card, because you don't have a palette knife, I would just rip it in half and then the same thing, just dab the end instead of getting the whole thing. Just dab the end. Perfect. And what you're going to do, so I'll show you the business card first. Just start at the top and just kind of like lightly drag it down. So I'm just kind of pulling it down and just dragging it along. And it's not going to evenly, like it's not going to be just a straight line. And that's what you want. You want it to kind of be loose in the abstract art. So you can go this way, or you can hold your palette knife that way. So whatever way, kind of experiment like what feels good for you. And I'm not putting a lot of gold in the sky, just a little bit. I'm also going to take some brown. You can kind of just wipe off the palette knife or use a different side of your business card. And kind of, I added in a little bit of my brown to the gold. If you had yellow ochre, then you don't need to worry about doing that because it's already going to be it already has brown in it. And I'm just going to add a little bit kind of that brown tone to the sky, just here and there. So I'm kind of focusing on the tops, but I am just kind of flicking down. I'm just kind of dragging wherever kind of feels good, wherever you feel like you want it. In my original, I did have some kind of brown here. So I'll just kind of do that. And just drag it. As you can hear, I'm just pulling it around. It takes a little bit of getting used to. So let me know how that's going. And we're going to actually smoothing this a little bit too. So if it looks kind of weird at the moment, like if it's like standing out too much, we're going to smoothen it out a little bit too with just our large brush again. Kind of want to get a little bit of a warm up with the palette knife because the next part of the painting is the palette knife for the cliff side. And that, as you can see, is more textured and less blended, whereas up here it's more blended. So that's the idea. So once you have kind of placed a little bit of gold, a little bit of brown in there, want you just to use that large brush and wet it and just tap your napkin. Oh, hey. Yes, it's going to be on replay as soon as I'm done. It'll be in the video section. Okay, so use that large brush here. That's just a little bit damp. And then you'll do the same motion as you did earlier. And the water will help smoothen it out, and it will pull it around to other places. And that's okay. I'm just using that water and blending it in just a little bit more so it's not as bold. I am also going to add a little bit of white here and there. Just show you this one section and then I'll show you again. And sometimes just a little bit of white in some areas will help soften the area as well. So it's kind of like a lot of blending with the sky and just literally going up and down until you're happy with kind of how it looks. And don't get too caught up in it. Just have fun with it. Like, this is kind of more of an abstract approach, so it's not going to be as like realistic. So kind of just let go and have fun with it. Yeah, sure. So that's kind of one section. And if you ended up like, say you put too much goldish color in there, and you lost some of that blue, feel free to take your blue and put some back in some areas and just do that technique of going up and down. Okay, so I'm seeing lots of hearts. Looks like you guys are... Did you guys do the whole sky already? I gotta catch up to you guys. So I'm just using the water again first because I don't want this to dry. Because once it dries, then it's not going to move for you. And like I said, acrylics kind of dry fast. So that's why it might appear that I'm like going a little fast, and I don't mean to. I just, if it dries, then it won't look as blended. So I'm just going to add a little bit of blue kind of here again because I feel like I kind of lost some of it. It's kind of like layering. We did put a base, but now we're layering it. And because this dried, I'll have to put a little bit of blue on it. So this might be kind of your situation too. Just because if it did dry, because it's acrylics and they do dry fast, just put a little bit of blue here and there if you ended up kind of not being able to smoothen that area out. There we go. Or if there's like kind of too much gold like that area, just cover it up a little bit more. Just go up and down. I'm just literally having fun with this and going up and down with a little bit of water on my brush, and time to time adding in a color that's already here if I feel like I want to add that. It's kind of like a little bit self-guided here. And if you have questions, like if there's something about yours that you're like, okay, there's like too much gold here or something. I mean, I know I can't see you and I can't see your painting, but I can try my best to describe to you. I'm just putting a little white on that spot. The white helps tone it down, and it also just kind of blends in nice with the other colors. I find white just picks up other tones in there. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead to the cliff side. So let me know if you're still needing a couple minutes with the sky, or if you have questions. And I'm going to put that brush aside. Where's my water? I put my water in a container so I wouldn't end up drinking from my cup. So we'll need the palette knife out again for the next step. And we're going to be working on the cliff side. So that area in here. You guys will have to send me pictures when you're done. That's the deal. So you'll need black and brown and gold out for the yellow ochre, and that little bit of red there on your palette for the next area. And just every time you like add a color or change a color with palette knives, you just wipe it off. Okay, so I have the cliff so I have some sky, so it's up to you how much sky you want. I have a little bit of like a wider area now to work with, but I made my cliffside about so wherever my halfway point is, I made it a little bit taller, a little bit higher than that. So I'm going to get out some black and just tap that onto my palette knife. Or the same thing with the business card, just kind of using the end. I'll try to use both throughout this. We'll make do with what we have, right? Okay, so about here, so it's halfway, but a little bit up. And I have my kind of cliffside going down a little bit on a slight angle. So it's about here. I'm going to leave a space because that's where the water is. So don't touch your black like I did. If you do, take a paper towel, a little bit of water, and you can kind of wipe it off. A little bit of a trick there. So I have a space, and then maybe I'll go up a bit more here. So it's kind of like a straight line here, but then this line's a little bit on an angle. Just to give it something different. There we go. So I have my middle here, that's going to be the water. So now wherever these lines are, that's where I'm going to be pulling down with the palette knife. So it's kind of the same, all this painting is kind of, we're pulling down. Kind of like that water's just falling. This is also kind of a cool way to make rocks and kind of that textured look. I'll just start with black and then I'll add other colors in. So I have my line on the side and my line straight. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's so cool. I love these tones. Like, okay, so here, I'll start on this straight one and I'll just kind of go wherever mine is and I'll just pull down. So I'm just gonna go like that and I'm just gonna drag it down. It already looks like stones are here, just from the palette knife and pulling it down. I had my business card, I would just use, you could use the longer side now because this part would take forever. So you could use the lengthwise and just kind of dip the card in the paint like that. And then you would pull down. I got a little bit of gold in there by accident, which is fine because we will put gold in anyways. So the same idea. Works a little bit different than the palette knife, but still does the job. If you really, really didn't like it, you can use a paintbrush and just maybe put it on thicker. It'll be a little different obviously with the paintbrush. But I'll be teaching with the palette knife for this. Okay, so I just have a little bit of black. I don't want to go too crazy with black because I have kind of more browns in the original. So you want to have black in there though, of course, to show like shadows and different shades. So I'll go over to the other side. You can always come back and see if you want to add other colors and as you go. So now I'm on this side and I'm just going to come down and pull and drag it down again. And you kind of do go through a little bit of paint in here with the palette knife. So sorry about that. So I'm kind of just going wherever it kind of wants to go. Like I just flick it down and maybe I will stay away from this area. I'll just kind of keep it on the edge. And if you want over there, that's okay too. And I'm just kind of using my finger to get the sides. It's a little bit tricky with the palette knife to do that. There. And still, don't worry about this area. It's kind of like choppy because we're going to be covering that with foam. So, okay, so let's kind of just wipe off that palette knife and we'll get some brown in there. I'm just wiping that off, getting out some brown. And you can just kind of dip a little bit into red. I kind of got a lot at the bottom there, but I'll just kind of wipe some of that off. This palette knife is huge, so it picks up every color. So add a little bit of red to your brown even, that's cool too. Or you can leave it loose where it'll just mix on its own on the canvas. I usually let the canvas do the work. And by work, I mean the mixing. Okay, so yeah, I have brown on there mostly, but just like a little bit of red. And now I'm going to come into kind of the center area a bit more and add in my brown. And I can go on top of my black too. And with that red in there, it'll help it stand out a little bit. And if you have kind of red that shows up a lot in one spot, just turn your knife this way, palette knife, and kind of just cover some of it if you feel like something is too much. That can be with any color. I'm just kind of pulling it down. And I'll go down a little further now. Oop, I got gold in there. That's okay. The palette knife, it picks up everything, so. You know what? Get gold in there. You might as well. Get some brown, but add a little bit of gold. Kind of tap it and add some gold areas. And as you see, I'm just going on top of the black, the browns, and just pulling downwards. I'm going to try to get mostly brown in some spots though, just so it can fill it in. You can change your angle if it fills in better. So say you're going this way and it's not catching certain areas, you can turn it and drag it down that way as well. Takes a little bit of getting used to. Maybe not for you, maybe it's coming naturally. Some people love the palette knife, some people hate the palette knife. But just practice. I'm doing another class soon with the palette knife to make a mountain. So that's in June, which is kind of like sounds far, but it's like mid-May, so there we go. So I'm just kind of putting more browns at the bottom. As you see, I'm really just kind of playing with the color here and putting it wherever I feel like kind of guided. And I have one down a little bit more now as well, so it's maybe not as big of a gap as white. I'm going up with some brown on my black areas. And if you like the black and it disappeared, put it back. It takes some playing just like the sky. And you can turn the palette knife time to time too. So I actually just picked up a little black and put it here. How's it going for you so far? I'm just going to show you with a brush here, like if there's some spots that just won't fill in because the palette knife doesn't always catch everything, you can just use a brush with whatever color is near there. So like I have black and brown there, so that's what I would put on my brush. And you can just kind of like tap it in some areas. And that just fills in any like white areas that might be showing up. So I'm just tapping that wherever there's like little white spots. And I'm tapping because I'm keeping up with the tone and the textures that are there. And you can also paint your sides if you have that brush out too. There we go. So anywhere there's like little holes that your painting knife just didn't get. I am going to add more gold to this too. I'm just kind of filling in some of those spots just in case the gold doesn't reach there either. You can use your paintbrush to kind of soften this area up here. Say it's kind of uneven or something's going on up there. Just use your brush and kind of just even it out a bit if you need to. Okay. Do the same for the other side too. Just filling in the holes, just tapping. This side didn't have as many. There we go. So now I want to brighten up this. So I'm gonna go in your camera for a minute. I could see in the camera that there's spots there, but when I was to my side, like the lighting, I couldn't see it. So there we go. I'll put that in the water. Just kind of wiping off my palette knife because they do get pretty filled up. So you want to wipe it off every now and then. So now I'm going to add more gold in there. In my original, I had more gold on this side than the other side, but it really doesn't matter here. This is going to brighten it up and show that there could be different bumps or little hills or little spots in there that someone could sit in or stand on, right? So now I'm just going to drag from here, put in that gold or the yellow ochre color. Maybe I'll use my palette knife this way, just so it can, if I hold it straight, then it's not going to get as much, but if you want a lot of it, then hold it flat. There you go. Kind of just depends on the space you have there. I always take a step back too. Like I can look in the camera and see where I'm at. But if you guys just take a step back and just see, like, do I really need to add more gold or whatever color? Am I missing something? Like, does it need to be darker? Does it need to be lighter? And you just kind of want it to be fairly distributed evenly. Like, not too much dark and not too much light. But it's also your preference. If you're really liking it a certain way, then go for that. So now I'm going to just kind of make a little space down here. I just kind of I left some brown here and just went on this area, and that kind of just shows there could be a cliff kind of hanging out there. It's an illusion. I'm just using a little bit of black or brown time to time too. Again, just on top of even the gold here and there, just to tone it down. I know it's a lot of layering, but that's really how you build this up. So sometimes I put other colors back on top, because to me it was looking a little too gold. So I'm just putting some brown on top and softening that a little bit. There's that spot there that's kind of too much. The gold can take over. And I have like this little off point there that just happened when I was doing the palette knife. So I'll just flow with that. You might have that, you might not. But I'll just kind of pull it over here and connect that. I kind of made it like on a little bit of an angle so it pointed out and down. You could easily add that. I'm just trying to get the edges. Oops. So I'm just going along the edge with my palette knife. There we go. So yeah, I'm gonna stop there because it's easy to get carried away. So if you have a question about this, let me know. We'll work on the water next. And the foam. So you'll need white out. White and refresher blue. If you have the blue and a little bit of green out again. Just to put some other colors in the water too. Hope you're having fun and learning some new things tonight. When I'm finished the class, I'll show you what the next live will be. So give me hearts or thumbs up. Let me know when you're ready. If you need more time, that's cool too. We'll also need the palette knife again. So I'm just kind of, I put it in the water this time. And now I'm just wiping it off on my napkin. Just because I don't want like too much paint on there. Because I will be using white next. I'm dropping everything today. Oh, I can't wait to see them. Okay. So let's get some white on there. It's nice we already have the blue from the sky here. And it probably will most likely disappear or mostly disappear. So that's why we have our blue and our green out again, just so we can make it and add it in a little bit. But we'll try not to cover it. So I will use the palette knife again. And I'm just dipping in on the end, just tapping. Okay, and what I'm going to do is just hold on the angle flats and just start to kind of lightly pull it down. So I'm just kind of scraping it along. You can just drag, and that also still keeps some of the color underneath. And you also want it to go a little bit on top of the cliff because it would be splashing. Water is crazy, so. I'm also going to hold it straight and pull downwards. And because I'm kind of scraping it, this color underneath is still peeking through. Did I just touch there with white? So I'm just pulling that down, and I'm going to kind of go over a little bit of some of the rock area here as I get closer to the bottom, because it's especially going to be splashing down there. So I will hold it straight actually, and I'm just going to kind of go a little bit off to the side with it. If it's like really wet over there, then maybe don't do that quite yet because you will pick up the color. But if it's a little bit, it should be fine with a little bit wet. There we go. So I'm just pulling that kind of down and just keeping in mind to leave some of the blue showing through. And if you end up covering it, just add some blue in there again. So right in here, it's too white for me. So I'm going to add a little bit of teal in there. And everyone's will be a little bit different. So if there's just a lot of white in an area, add some teal in there. Oh, there we go. I'm running out of my blue. Okay, so just mixing up my blue with my green, making up a little bit of my teal color again. And I'm just going to add that back in down here. There we go. Because it's just too white down there. And why not add a little bit up here? Just because. Okay, and I'm going to clean that palette knife off and just use some white again. And kind of just go onto the rocks again. Let it splash down there. It's a little bit wider down here and thinner up here. I'm starting to kind of branch off because there will be foam down here. So with the foam, I'm just going to use the palette knife to start, and then we can use the sponge to kind of soften it. But I'm just going to take the palette knife and just go in like a circular motion. And if you don't want, if like the business card might not work as good here, so you could also just use the sponge. But I'm just using the palette knife right now just because it's nice and thick. It gets the paint nice and thick because the palette knife holds a lot. And I can use that to my advantage and kind of just swirling around and imagining all of that foam down there. So I'm also going down into the water or onto the water. There. I'm just spinning around. So now what I'll use is my sponge, like I was saying. Oh, there it is. So I have my sea sponge, they call it. And I'm just dipping that sponge onto my white and just kind of dabbing off to the side. So it's not, you don't want a whole lot of paint in the sponge because there's already paint on there. The sponge, we're going to go above where the white is and just kind of tap along. And you'll see the nice foamy approach. You could also just use a brush if you didn't have a sponge. So I'm just going up and tapping on there the nice foam. Right on the top. And you can also go up and down, and you can start to blend in some of the white that we did with the palette knife. Make sure you go up a little bit into the waterfall. And now is your chance to check where else could splashes be. Maybe a little bit up here, just here and there, because this is like a mighty waterfall. So it's going to splash everywhere. There we go. Oh, you're so nice. I hope I can do this as beautifully as you. I've never painted with a palette knife. Yeah, no, this video will be here, so like you do it the first time and you're like, it didn't work. Try it again. Right? The palette knife is fun. Once you get the hang of it, it's really cool. And it's like a time saver too, because it just covers so much surface area. Okay, perfect. So I see thumbs up. Try not to go too foam crazy as well, right? It can be easy to get carried away. If you do have some of that teal lying around, just dip your sponge into it a little bit, just very faintly, like I have barely any on this sponge right now. So dip it in and then maybe dip to the side just to get off some of the excess paint. And you just want a little bit of the tone of the blue in there because it's no foam is just perfectly white. So you just want to have a little bit in there for contrast. Just a little tiny bit. And I just can probably barely see it, but just enough in there to show that it's not just white. That's it overall. So I want you to get out the brush again. Let's do the large brush. And with the water here, because it's still a little bit wet, I want to use that to our advantage for blending. And I want to just kind of add more into this bottom water. So we're going to just take the brush that's just cleaned off, kind of that same technique we did up here, just a little bit damp. And we'll go underneath the foam. So if it's, yeah, it's dry. So I'm going to use a little bit of white and just kind of go underneath and add a faint bit of white. So I barely have white on my brush. It's mostly water with a little bit of white. Unless here is wet, then you can just use that water technique. Mine just dried, so. So barely any white. And I'm just kind of just going back and forth, just so it's not just blue. And if you don't have the sponge, either like tapping worked just fine as well. It takes a little longer, but it still works. So you can tap a little bit down here, just if it is dry and it looks kind of a little bit funky. Just kind of tap a little bit down below and then kind of just go back and forth and blend that in. Just so it doesn't look like the foam is like floating. So you're basically taking white and just adding it underneath. And maybe you might have to tap a bit if you get close to your foam. So it's not like floating foam. Just gonna start my music again. I always paint with music, so it feels so quiet without it. I don't know, what do you guys like when you paint? Some people like complete silence. So let you guys just catch up there for a moment. Just have a good old CD player, because my laptop I can't get on. Oh, these are gonna look so cool. I'm so excited to see them. Alright, so I'm putting that brush back in there. So now we're gonna make little tiny rocks down here. And see how my foam isn't looking like it's floating? So we're still gonna work on that. See how you can tell a difference? Where the foam is like basically all over the water, whereas in the one here, this one, it's floating to me. I'll use that term. So we will work on that a little bit more. We'll put rocks and then we'll add more foam because it's going to make the illusion that the rock is underneath. So a little bit more of a foamy approach down there, looking kind of misty as well. And then we'll go up to the tree. So we'll get out the smallest brush you have. So I'll just use this one. It's a little tiny Filbert. And it's just going to be some black to start. Just put a little bit of black on my smallest brush. And I have like 3 rocks, but you can do as many as you want. So I'll start with one over here on my left side. So I'll make a line where it is. And then I always just kind of give it a little bump. So I make a line, and then I make like a little bump. Sometimes you can just tap it as well. Sorry, it's a little hard for me to hold it there without it shaking on you. So you can make one a little longer, smaller. I just extended this one a bit. I always say start small, and then if you want something larger, you can go back and make it larger. I'm gonna go over to my right side, and maybe I'll make one right here where the foam is already. So I have a line, and then I'm just turning my brush and doing a little bump. So that's like the gist of it. But usually I don't leave it just like this. I always kind of extend it a little bit or give it like an extra bump just so it's like a little bit more unique. More random like nature is. Here we go. Black. Maybe I'll put one down here. Wherever you want to put a little rock. Or a big rock. So I just cleaned the brush off after the little black rocks. I'll give you guys a minute. I'm going to use brown too next, so. And then I'll show you what to do with that. So I'll just kind of show you up close. So I have a rock here, 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 and here. Doesn't have to be in the exact same spot as mine or the exact same length. Just go for what works in your space. And if you want more or less, it's totally up to you. And if you want to see how to make the rock again, if you're still unsure, just let me know and I'll throw in another rock in mine. So I cleaned the brush off and I just have a little bit of brown now. It's just remaining on my palette. I put underneath of the rocks brown. So I'm just kind of lightly, you don't need a lot of brown on there. So it's kind of like the same technique for the white. Just don't put a lot of brown on your brush. And just add a little bit of kind of scruff underneath the rock. Imagine it like a shadow. This canvas is so long. There we go, so a little shadow underneath my rock. It's kind of just, I just go back and forth and spread it out. It can be in the water, it could be like a little dirt spot or a rock that's underneath, even deeper than these ones are showing. I'll put that back in the water. So I'm going to use the sponge again for the last step to kind of blend the foam in and kind of hide the rocks just a little bit as well. Just let me know when you're ready for that. Oh, there it is. So I'll just need white and my sponge. I'm just tapping on the white there. Should get a little bit more white out here. There we go. I got this CD like from a concert long ago and I didn't really know what it was going to be on it, but I liked it. Like for like painting, it's like really calming. So I just have some white on my sponge and I'm just tapping out so it's not like a lot of white on there. So I'm just tapping off to the side. Sorry is what I mean. And just a little bit of white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work underneath where it's kind of just showing like this is foam, this is water. We're going to take that away now. So the white is you're going to start tapping underneath. So you're going to need your sponge and then we'll get the brush. So kind of like a two-step process here. So I'm just adding in the light foam. And you can go on top of the rock a little bit too, right? Because that pushes it back behind the foam. My rock dried pretty quick, but if your rock isn't dry, then don't do it. Just go around it a little bit even. There we go. And I basically just covered this one. I can leave the other ones uncovered. Thank you. Oh, hey, Dad. Okay, And then after you put a little bit more foam there, use that clean brush that you have that's just wet but not soaked, and we're going to take that and we're just going to put it on the canvas, and I'm just swirling now. So I'm literally just pushing and twirling and pushing that back so it's softening, and it's going to make it look like under here is more of a mist than it is a foam. Thanks. There we go. I'm going up and down, and even in the foam that's dry, because it's good to spread it around. You never know, up here I could fill in something. So I like to just go everywhere, but mostly focus here at the bottom and just literally twirl and twirl and twirl until you can see that it's mostly kind of just, it's softer down here than it is up there. Looking more of a mist. You can go back and forth a little bit in some spots if you need to, but mostly I just swirl around. And I'm going on the rocks too a little bit. There we go. And then, now it looks more misty underneath and more blended. Could you make that mist with a round brush too? Yes, yes you could. And P.S. you're amazing. Oh, you're so sweet, thank you. So are you. So are you all. If it was a round brush, something like that, same thing. You could still use water and then just tap your napkin, and yeah, it still works. Might be a little rougher on this type of brush just because it's kind of more, it's made for like thin spots, like say like tree or like grasses, but it's fine. It'll survive for just a little bit of area. Thank you. So yeah, let me know where you're at with that if you have any questions. I'm actually currently building a website, which I'm super excited about, because all of these lives that I have, which I love, of course, but I have like doubles of my art. So it's like, I don't need all these doubles. Like I have so many paintings. So I'm just making a website right now so I can sell these art, like some of these paintings that I have. So I will announce it on my page when it's done. It just takes a little while to build, but it's in the process, which is super exciting. So if there is something that you like, I'll be selling that. And if you're ever interested in that, just message me. I can ship. It's no problem. I've shipped paintings before. Yeah, just a little side note. I was just excited about the website, so that's going to be fun. And on the website, I'll have like the events, the videos, pictures of the arts, and I'm thinking of doing like a little like email thing where you can get reminded that there's a live coming. So, and any ideas you guys have for me for classes that you want to do, like anything you want to paint particularly, just let me know. I'm totally open to ideas. So, and some people have sent me in the past like a photograph of like a scenery, say it's like somewhere up north, and I've done that as a class, and then I just kind of tag you in the comments like, this person, right, shared their photograph with me, and then I painted it, and now I can teach it as a class. So that's always fun too, for those photographers out there. Thanks. Okay, so now we'll go up and work on the tree. I have just one tree, but you're welcome to do more than one tree, of course. I'll just stick to one. So you can use a flat brush for this, or if you have a round, use a round too. So that's a round. I didn't put that in the description, I apologize. But a variety is always great, right? But this flat one works just as good too. So I prefer the flat, but round works great, and I've even used the Filbert, so. Okay, so I'm just dipping the flat brush into water. I'd love to do a painting of a rainy day. I can't seem to get the wet look. Oh, yeah, no, that's a great idea, thank you. Yeah, I totally know what you mean. It can be a finicky thing, but I kind of have a process to do that, so I'll try it out. I'll try and share that with you. How are you learning to do your blog? So I don't have a blog, but that could be something I could do on the website. I did want to put like a kind of like a blog type story about, you know, about me and how I got started. So I have a friend that's helping me build it. Okay, so we will need brown and black. So let's just mix a little bit of black into brown. So mostly brown, a little bit of black, because black is very powerful and likes to take over everything. So mostly brown. So tad of black. I'm mixing it into my brown. Maybe a little more, because I have a lot of brown here. I'm just stirring it in. Okay. So I have my tree on my left side, but wherever you want to put it. So the bottom of the tree is always thicker, and it's thinner at the top. So this tree I'm going to make about kind of in the center of that cliff. And I'm just going to start with a rough idea so you can see the kind of the shape of it, and then we can thicken it. So I'm just going to hold my brush like flat, and that will kind of be my base to start. And then I'm going to come up a little bit, kind of bend it, and kind of round it. And I'm very lightly pulling up there. Oh, I don't know if my lighting, you can see that. This painting is tall, and with the gold, it's shiny. So maybe I should put a light on there. Oh yeah, that's a little better. So up here is a little bit thinner. And I'll make it go right off the edge. Yeah, I've been told that. So, kind of like the key, I just imagine it's thicker at the trunk. So if I hold my brush like this, and then as I get towards the top, I just let go of the pressure. And even if you turned your brush to use it this way, that would make it thinner. Or you can get out a smaller brush. So I ended up touching an area, so I'll just fill this in, and that's all good. Here we go. Up here is also, so if there's something you didn't like, you can just put some leaves on it later. So don't worry if it's like too thick in a spot by accident. Put some leaves there. It's all good. I see a spot on my cliff. Maybe get out the smallest brush you have so you can do the branches. Or use the flat brush, but this way, like straight. And lightly. I'm also dipping in water right now. Then in my paint, because if my paint is a little bit wetter, it's going to allow me to make thinner branches. So branches are... So, sorry, if you didn't like kind of thicken this area, just thicken that, because you need to like show that your tree's being supported. So I just thickened that area just a bit, because here's a little thicker than I wanted it. So I'm going to make that a little bit larger so it can show that it's going to support it. Okay, and basically I see this bump here. I'm going to put a branch there. So I'm just pulling up and flicking. So do you see that? Like pushing, and then I'm like letting go and just flicking it off the canvas. That is easily flicked if the paint has a little bit of water in it, so then it can move for you. If it was too thick, then it would make it a little harder. Or use a small brush to get smaller branches. It's This is recorded. Yeah. Yeah, it records automatically when I go live, and then I just post it to my video area when I'm done. So basically the branches are little V's upon V's. So I have a V, but now I'm going to make one again. And maybe again. And maybe up here. Kind of just have fun with it. Sometimes your V's can go more, so it's on an angle, but maybe this time I'm going straight. I'm trying to bring it closer for you too. I'll balance it on my leg. This canvas is nice and long at least. So I have a V, kind of a flat V, but then I'll put a branch there and there. It's kind of wherever you want. Just put V's upon V's. Just keep it light with the branches. And I'm using this flat brush to my advantage because as you see, it's already thin. So the lighter the pressure, the easier I can get it to become thinner. And then just flicking at the end really does help. With getting a thinner end as well. Don't worry, you can cover something with bushes and leaves. So add a little water into your paint too if you need to, if it's not moving for you. I'm taking a step back. I'm just thinking, do I want more branches? Yeah, I'll put one here. You can make them go down too. I'm just gonna fill that spot in, 'cause why not? And I'm just going over my trunk just because it's dry now, so I can kind of see through one side of it. So there we go. So yeah, up here for me is too thick, but I'll just put leaves on there. Yeah, I think that's good for branches for me. Once you put leaves on and you see that you feel like in an area that you could put a branch, it's very easy to attach a branch to an area where there's leaves. So we'll have to finish recording as by cliffs too wet. Okay. You could work with that. Pull even some of the paint up into the trunk. I am seeing something on mine though, and you might have the same thing. I'm going to let it dry a bit up there, and I'm just going to get a brush. This is something you don't have to do. I just see that on mine. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm just getting white on mine. On my waterfall here, it should be straight and filled in. I forgot to tell you. I'm so sorry. So I'm just taking a brush, and I'm just going to use the paint kind of thick so it matches with the texture. And I'm just kind of going along. So you may or may not need to do this. Maybe it already did it for you. But I am now just going to kind of tap there with the white. And I'm just filling that in and just kind of going down to match. There. So if you need to do that, you could do that. So for the leaves, it's nice and easy because you can just sponge them. So I just use a different end of the sponge, and I just use just plain old gold. You can use any color you want, of course. And just dip my sponge in there. This time I didn't worry if it was too thick in my sponge, and just decided to just put it right on. So I'm just tapping anywhere I have branches. And it might take a little bit to show up, so you might need a couple layers. I think with my original I did put a couple layers. So I'm just getting out some more gold. Ooh, I also mixed just a tad of brown in there. So once I put gold, I'll put some brown too on top. So I'll just work on gold. So the thicker the better, because then it shows up. Especially if you have a lot of gold in this area, say in your background, put some more brown so then you can tell that there's leaves there. So anywhere I have branches, and I'm just going right on them. I'm not worrying about just going at the ends. I am going right on them. So I have a branch right on that. And I'm covering this area. And there we go. Maybe a little bit down there. Then I'm just going to dip right into brown with that sponge. And I'll just, wherever I had kind of gold, I'll just add a little bit of brown in there. Give it some contrast and help the gold stand out even more. You could throw another color in there if you wanted. Try a little white even if it's not standing out as much. I'm going to add just a tad of white. Oh, apparently I picked up yellow with my sponge, and that actually looks cool. So add a little bit of yellow and white. There we go. I kind of made it round. Kind of looks like a tree from the jungle. So I kind of like that. But if you don't like the rounded look, you could easily just fill in more of the middle. So some of the branches do disappear from the sponge, but we will take our brush and we will add just a couple of the branches back and also take a look to see, do you have like floating leaves and they need a branch. So I'm just going to get that brush out again with that brown and black on it. And I actually am going to add a branch here because I just have a lot of leaf down here, but nothing to kind of connect it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a branch right here. And I just go right up to where the leaf is. And then I just kind of even just tap in little spots for the branches. See that? By tapping, it shows up easier. If I pulled, it's going to blend. So tapping it will help it from not blending on you. So I tap until I run out of color. So if I'm running out of color, I just dip into more. And I'm just connecting some of my branches back again, but I'm also not worrying about making them all connected. So for example, I have one here. I'm going to leave a space, and then I'll tap again up here, just to show there is a branch there, but maybe this spot is more covered with leaves. So it's kind of bringing them back to life in some spots. So maybe again up here, I'm just tapping. You can make up your own branches too. Like if you didn't have one there before, you can always make one up. I just tap randomly. I try not to think about it too much and just go for it. What do you got to lose, right? You don't like the branch, just put some leaves on it again. There. I'll stop with that because it can be easy to get carried away and then you'll have to keep repeating the same step over and over and over. So, I just see like a spot up here. I'm going to add a little bit more kind of leaf too. And you might see that too. There we go. I'm adding a little bit of white to my brown. So I can put a little bit of kind of, just a little bit of bark. I can't talk anymore. Putting a little bit of bark here on my tree. I'm just going to use the flat brush. And I'm just going to use it on the side angle. And I'm just going to kind of drag it. Just on the side closer to the water. And I'm just kind of dragging it and following my tree's growth. And I don't have a lot of paint on the brush either. And I'm just kind of, you can probably kind of hear it a bit. I'm just kind of scraping it on a little bit. Can you see that? Just a little bit's good. Just to show that it's a little bit of light shining on there. And because I have brown on my brush and I can't stop touching the cliff, I'm just kind of, you might need to go close to your water now that it's kind of dry, like, and you might need to kind of go up to your water just a little bit. Here and there, you might need to like kind of just pull it in a little bit, or if there's like a gap or something that just looks a little off, you can now do that with the brush and just add it in a little bit. Okay. Is there something else from home you can use as a sponge for the leaves? Yeah, so if you have an old brush, something that looks kind of like these ones, like just loose, right? Like there's old hair bristles here. These kind of brushes work great for a sponge technique too. But if you don't have something like that, you can even use a makeup brush. Like, you know how there's those makeup brushes like this where you do like the powder? You can use a brush like that as a sponge. You can use a toothbrush. You can use just a wide, like even a Filbert would work fine. And just dab and dab. No problem. I'm just touching up the cliffside. Just anywhere, if you see a hole again, you know, now that it's dry, you can put a little bit of the color in. And like I said, just up close to your water, you might need to put your rock back a little bit. And it's okay if you end up covering part of the water, because you kind of want it to look uneven here. Like, you don't want it just to be straight, right? So that's why I did put a little bit of water kind of splashing off. And also, even if I pull out the cliff a bit onto the water, that looks good too. Just think of when you're out for a hike. And I'm seeing a lot of gold, and I'm just covering a little bit of it. There we go. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea too. I'm putting the sponge in the water now, so it's easier to clean later. And the palette knives you can put in the water too. If you're done anyways. That's all the steps I have for you tonight. So I'll stick around here a little longer just to make sure that people don't have any questions. Ooh, yeah. Crumpled up paper towel. Yes, perfect idea. And tinfoil. Love it. Yes, those all work great too. You're welcome, Karen. Yes, yes, me too. I'm so excited. I am so close. Just working on uploading many, many photos. And getting a URL and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, so I actually officially registered myself as a business. So that's really exciting too. So this was a hobby, and now I've started to turn it into more of a small business. So yay! I just love painting, and I thought, yeah, why not register and go for more classes. So more to come, and I'm totally open to ideas too. Sounds good. Yes, please post your photos afterwards. You can put them like right in this event, right on my page directly. You could also, when this video is published, as soon as I'm done on here, you can also post it in the comments. I would love to see them. And I'm sure everybody else that painted tonight or is painting in the future would love to see them. Okay, so my next live, I'll use a palette knife too. I'll just show you it before I go. So this is it. So this is my next one. I have that up on my event page. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm so excited to paint it with you guys. So that's the next live coming up on June 10th. And that video will be up if you missed it too. And I do have a Zoom class coming up as well. I will also show you. So anytime that I do a live, that is free. And then anytime that I do a Zoom, so I try to put it in the title, like Zoom class, and then that's a paid event. Whereas the live, I put in free live, so then people know that it's free. So for my next Zoom class, it's on June 1st at 7 o'clock. And this is the painting that I'll be teaching. So it's just a little bit more to it. So it's nice to go on Zoom because then I can see you, you can see me, and then I can further help you from there. So yes, this is June 1st on Zoom, and that's a paid event. It's $12 a person, and that just helps support me, you know, to be able to buy all my supplies and whatnot. And like, I would just love to be here, right? So how long will this be available? I actually have been keeping them up for like ever because of the quarantine and all the stuff going on, lockdowns. It's just nice to have something to do. So I haven't taken them down. Eventually I will transfer them over to my website. But for now they're just on my page. So yeah, this is June 1st. That's a Zoom, it's a paid event. And then this is June 10th. And that's live and that's free. And those are 12 by 12s. I'm just obsessed with 12 by 12s. Except for tonight. Oh, you're so welcome. It's been a long while since I last painted. This is good help to bring me back into painting again. Yeah, exactly. I started with a hobby as well, and I just did videos, and I used to go to like paint nights, and it just really helped bring me back to getting into that painting groove. Wow, that's so cool. Malinia, Philippines. Love that. Sorry if I said it wrong. From Ontario, Canada. We're in a lockdown here. Alright, everyone. If nobody has questions, I'm going to take off for the evening. So thanks so much for tuning in, for watching. It's always a pleasure. And please post your your photos after I'm done the video. And you're welcome. So have a great night. And take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.